Ruben Salazar was a pioneering journalist in the 1960s who wrote about the growing population of Latino and Mexican immigrants being marginalized and discriminated against in Los Angeles. The new documentary, Ruben Salazar, A Man in the Middle, traces his path from reporter to Chicano movement supporter to his suspicious death. Take a look.
In an explosive era, journalist Ruben Salazar challenged the status quo and gave voice to a new movement.
When he began to talk about what he really felt about things, people were shocked.
In 1970, he was shot dead by an LA County Sheriff's deputy.
The police phoned him and said, "Stop stirring up the Mexicans."
Filmmaker and director Philip Rodriguez, welcome to Evening Edition.
Hello, Peggy.
Hi. Now, you say that Salazar's story is more than an ethnic or regional one. Remind us of who he was.
Well, I think that what I mean to say is that for a long time, stories out of the West Coast really have not been part of the great American story. And we have a host of stories, like the Salazar story, that really deserve their part in the great American narrative. The Salazar story is an extraordinary story, not just about a reporter finding his way, but it's a murder mystery. And it's a story about a city at the verge of the radical changes that we've seen in Los Angeles since then.
A much bigger narrative, it sounds like. Now, I know Salazar didn't start out reporting on issues involving Latinos and Mexican immigrants. What changed that?
Not at all. Salazar was a silent generation Mexican-American, assimilated guy, lived in Orange County, married to a blonde lady. He really didn't want to be pegged, didn't want to be typecast as a Latino. He wanted the free reign like any other reporter. He wanted to report on whatever it is was out there. But somehow he did manage to get caught on the taco beat, having to report on very specifically Latino things. And as that happens, his head changes and his perspective changes, not only about the beat itself, but about himself and his own life and his own choices.
Who were some of the people that you interviewed for this documentary?
We interviewed colleagues of his and friends of his and people that ran what was a very powerful newsroom in that day. And as well as we interviewed the man who actually killed him. This is the Salazar story has been a subject of great conjecture for 40-some years. And we, in an effort to become clear about this, to understand what happened, sued the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and won access to his homicide files. And in doing so, found all kinds of treasures and all kinds of information that had heretofore been unavailable. So the film consists of interviews with people that have never spoken before, have never been found before to speak about this great mystery.
I want to just delve a little bit deeper into that. I know the circumstances around his death are part of his iconic status right now. Some say this law enforcement officer deliberately killed him. Others say it was an accident. Those documents that you were talking about that you sued to get out of the police force, did it shed any light on which way this goes?
It's shed a great deal of light, and the film unpacks phenomenally interesting drama. And yes, of course, I hope that the audience will walk away with an entirely new understanding of and be able to separate out myth from history.
Man in the Middle. Why did you choose that and tag that on?
Salazar was a man in the middle of the century. He was kind of a Latino Don Draper. You know, he was a silent generation guy who has to confront the noise and the demands of the baby boom generation. He was a Latino, one of the lone Latinos in a major newsroom in Los Angeles Times, lonely there. He was a Mexican-American man married to a white lady that knew very little about his culture. He was in the crossfire between the Times antagonisms toward the LA Times and the LA Times antagonism back to the Times. And he died in the midst of a crossfire at the hands of a sheriff's deputy.
Now, you talked about what you thought the audience takeaway should be on this separating myth and fact, but how do you see this documentary applying to what's going on right now as far as immigration and still the battle with Latinos in America and the problems being faced here?
You know, I'm not sure that Salazar's a lot of things. He's a symbol not simply for Latinos or Mexican Americans, but he's a symbol of journalism at a time when it was really at its zenith, arguably, when the newsrooms had extraordinary kind of access and power and resources to pursue facts, when the journalists had power on the run, and I think that as far as the Latino thing goes, I mean, he's an interesting symbol because what he does, to the degree to which Chicano generation really controlled the discourse about what Latinos were about, he was a silent gen guy, who was a assimilation modelist guy, and to watch his experience is a whole new way into the Latino story that we don't know.
It'll be interesting to see. Filmmaker Philip Rodriguez, thank you so much. And I want to let folks know the documentary, Ruben Salazar, Man in the Middle, can be seen right here on KPBS on April 29th.
Thank you.